Who did you shout out when you became number one department supervisor in the company? Did you tell the CEO about your people?
Yeah.
That worked their butts off?
Leadership isn't failing because people don't care. It feels harder than it should because too many leaders were never shown how to carry it. This is the Leadership Lunch Hour. I'm Don Healy, joined by my good friend Adam Cumpiano. We've led teams in environments where the pressure is real, mistakes are costly, and decisions have consequences. These are unscripted conversations about what leadership actually looks like when you're responsible for people, outcomes, and hard decisions.
All right, here we go. First recording of the Leadership Lunch Hour with myself, Don, and Adam. This is going to be a little rough format for whoever may or may not end up listening to this if we end up publishing it. But Adam came to me with a killer idea. Adam and I have got a long history of working together, leading together. And Adam said, he wants to do something that's gonna mark our thoughts and leave something behind for others. And Adam and I have had a lot of conversations about leadership, what the secret sauce is, how we lead, why we lead. Don't know that we've got it figured out, but Adam wanted to do this and ultimately to create a book. And the intent for this is we're going to be documenting our conversations through the transcripts, and we're going to process those down the road into a chapter book, which is pretty exciting. So whoever's going to listen along with this, if they end up listening along, is going to follow us along the process of both getting leadership thoughts on the table, as well as fumbling our way through trying to use AI technology and tools and all sorts of cool stuff to be able to hopefully create a book that people enjoy. With that, Adam, what's again, your own words? What are your thoughts? What drew you to jotting down some notes and thinking about writing a book?
Well, I think, when you come from hard points in life, we all do. We all have things that grow us, things that hurt us, things that shape us, people that steer us one direction and then inspire us in others. And I think looking back on my life, 6 kids, granddaughter, big in the community, I'm a big coach, 28 years coaching kids and youth. I thought, what can I leave for my children, my grandchildren, something my parents didn't leave me, to pass on to other people. And it really stems back to my childhood. I had a really rough childhood. Maybe in future sessions, we'll dive into that a little bit. Yeah. But really, you could be one of 3 ways, in my opinion. I could be wrong. You could be a victim your whole life and go down the victim route. And especially when you're abused or, whatever, but your living circumstances are not so good. Or you could be a predator and become a predator. Or you could become inspirational and prove everybody wrong, right? Yeah. And I think I took that route, and it really stems back to 80s cartoons. So my world was 80s cartoons. I lived them outside, like Voltron, number 1, right? He-Man, right? And if you look at all those cartoons, the 80s cartoons were the best because the villains were the villain leaders, like Megatron and Skeletor. They were fakes. They led with fear, intimidation, and guilt. They're warriors when they failed, and they screamed at them, and they ousted them out. But then you look at He-Man, the way he led, or you look at Voltron, the way all 5 of them worked together. It was all servant leadership. How can I help you? Yeah. How can I save you? And those didn't click in me until about 10 years ago. Yeah. Probably about 8 years ago, totally, when I met you. I had started this journey, and then I met you, and I was like, there's the other piece that I'm missing. I always call you my pedestal person. You're one of my people on a pedestal that I go, okay, I think I'm on the right track. And I think, I know I'm older than you and we come from different backgrounds, but that doesn't mean anything. Right. That means you can always learn from some other person. And yeah that's what last couple of years, you had asked me a while back, like, you look bored, you look stagnant, you look stale, you got so much to offer, like what are you gonna do? And I've been thinking about this book for a couple years. Yeah.
Well, and as we transitioned out of working together, when I left the field, went into the office, we had that lunch in Philomath or Independence or wherever the hell that was, and you asked me the question of what's the secret sauce, right? Mm-hmm. And I kid you not, Adam, I think about that every single day. what's the secret sauce of my personal leadership style? And I'll tell you what, like, you know, maybe it's one of those, you know, meditation things of like, the answer is not the answer and you never find the answer, but that's the answer, right? Like,
Right. Right. Yeah.
I don't know what the secret sauce is, but I you know, I'm excited about these conversations that we're going to have to maybe unpack, you know, some of both of our secret sauces. But, you know, I think what's really unique and kind of the thread that binds us together is want for, you know, to be able to influence at least somebody with our style of leadership that is compassionate, it's caring, it's not demanding, you know, it's taking on the hard things but rallying people together to you know to move mountains, right? Like in our world right now, there is so much lack of leadership. You know, we see it everywhere, and it's not bad people, it's just a lack of leadership. We see a lot of people who manage that think that they're leading, and you know, I think anybody who has experienced both management and leadership can tell you that there's a stark difference.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, in the world that we've got today, people don't know what leadership is. They've lost it. It's gone.
Yeah, you know, I think great leaders that I could name, like Frank Blank, Arthur Blank, CEOs of major corporations that, you know, really, we all start out, when you're a leader, you think you're a boss, right? I got the power, especially when you're young, right? And you want to tell people how to do their job. You want to like drive them to success. And when you realize that only goes so far, that the gas only lasts so long in that tank, and you're not refueling the tank. And I think a long time ago, when I, you know, looked at leaders like Frank Blake, Arthur Blank, and different people in my life where I felt filled, like, well, you're filling me up.
Yeah.
I want to do more. And so so coaching kids, how do you get them to perform at a high level? Well, you pump them up, you inspire them. You know, we could always drag on the misses, we could always anchor down what they didn't do right, but are we celebrating the wins, and are we pumping people up? And that's something that you, like, when we first met, I remember our lunch, you know, I didn't know how to build a house. I didn't know what I was doing there. And you're like, dude, I'll teach you. I don't care about the sticks and bricks. I care that you could build a team. And that I say that same phrase to my guys now. Like,
Yeah.
I don't care about the sticks and bricks. That's the process.
It's easy.
That can be taught.
Easy stuff. Yeah.
Easy. Metrics will take care of themselves once you learn the process. It's how you're going to keep going.
Yeah.
How you're going to keep moving.
Yeah.
And
Well, you know, we met, what was that, the Denny's in Albany, right? Where we met for the first time, right? Yeah. And you know, I knew, and I mean, even without reading your resume, right? Because you've got a history of leadership experience, military leadership training, like you've got a history of that. And even without reading your resume, in that conversation, I knew that you knew how to communicate, you knew how to relate, you knew how to connect with people. You had compassion, you cared, you know, and looking at that, like, if somebody doesn't have that, it's really freaking hard to teach that. Like trying to ingrain that into somebody is way freaking harder than teaching them how to build a house. And, you know, with those core elements, you know, it's you know, in my mind, it was a slam dunk. I knew absolutely. And then, you know, going into stories shortly after that, you had the interview on the other side of the mountains. Yeah. And I got the phone call from Ken, and it was like, hey, hire this guy. He you know, he broke down on the pass, changed a tire in his freaking slacks and tie, and in the middle of the winter, and still got his butt over here in time to be able to do an interview. And like, the deal was sealed right there. That's awesome. And, you know, Ken, I love Ken dearly. He said something, another leader, right? Is it better to be great and late or good and on time? And, you know, that question definitely carried with me to this very day, 8 years later. And I mean, I met you, and we sat in the truck that first day, and like, I knew, I was like, okay, I'm home. I'm where I want to be. The trust from day one was phenomenal. Like, I just looked at you like, dude, there's no way. You got to trust me. And a good leader, right, trust. You didn't know me from Adam. But we sat in the truck all day, and it was the end of the day, and it was dark. And I looked at you and I go, bud, we got to split up. We're never going to finish. Do you trust me? My exact words, you go, heck yeah, I do. And
Dude, that was day one, right?
Yeah.
What leader, boss, fig, gives any trust to anybody? They don't, because they lack self-esteem. That's huge. Huge.
You just hit on one of the things that I get super passionate about in leadership is insecurity, right?
Yeah.
There's so much arrogance that's covered up with insecurity, which manifests into control, lack of trust, that then permeates through an entire team, right? And you've got to trust. Like I've used the analogy a lot, and boy, we're getting deep into the leadership stuff, but that's good. Let's
get it on
the
ice.
Let's get it on the table. But I use the analogy a lot, and I heard it from a Tim Ferriss podcast. I can't remember who the guest was, but it was, allow people to fall on grass, right? Like if your kid is out tearing ass outside running around, and they're 3 years old, you're not going to let them trip and face plant on the asphalt, right? But if they trip and fall on grass,
parents did, but yeah,
right. But it's the same thing, when you're growing somebody, and the analogy there is to trust, right? Trust people to make mistakes. You allow them to make mistakes, as long as they're not going to be a detriment to themselves and hurt themselves. That's going to cause, long-term damage. You gotta let them fail. And, in that moment, in that conversation in the truck, right? Like, I was overwhelmed. We had more going on than what we knew what to do with. We had firestorms every which direction. And the thing is I knew I could trust you. I knew I could trust you to make good decisions. I knew that your values aligned, and I knew that you had the communication skills to dive in, talk to subcontractors, utilize their expertise to be able to move things forward, And I think that touches on just in a little bit of reflection, what really helped us, I think hone our leadership skills is really managing subcontractors, learning how to lead subcontractors who were technical experts, allowing them to be the technical experts where we were not, and honing some leadership skills in that. And then, we both transitioned from leading subcontractors to leading leaders, which is a whole nother skill set, a whole nother ball of wax, right? But I mean, it really gave us an awesome framework to be able to hone, clarify, understand, build leadership skills around.
Well, yeah, and I think what we naturally progressed at was managing up without a title, right? And that's such an important piece. So like I'm from the age of a good kick in the ass, but from somebody that I respect. So like, in the union as apprentice, you got journeymen that are over you and they throw a wrench at you because you messed a cut, right? Like, but there's only certain people that I would take a wrench from. The other people we're fighting, right? We're meeting in the parking lot. And those are the ones you never wanted to let down. They were rough. They were no fluff, you were hitting asphalt, you were hitting grass.
Right.
You thought, but deep down inside, they were actually growing you and leading you to be successful. Those are the ones that you want to die for, that you would do anything for, even get hit by a wrench flying across the room. Right? And to discern that quickly, I had to trust you too. I had no idea what simplicity was. I had no clue what we were doing. To be honest with you, the first day was a shit show. And I'm like, what did I get myself into? But I knew talking with you were calm, you were cool, you were collected, you were methodical, and you're like, hey, man, make a mistake. Hey, man, this is going to suck. Yeah. Hey, we got this. And I knew right then and there, like I told you, I'm here. I'm in it to win it. I'm going to die for this guy. Even there at Depot Bay, I had no idea what the hell I'm doing, but we'll figure it out. Like, so yeah, no, I mean, I think we just tapped potential in both of us. I think when you moved up in a way, there was great conversations where you were feeling uneasy and backed in a corner and you were vulnerable and you felt vulnerable. And, I really hope our conversations helped you a little bit. Like, hey, man, you're you. You got an army of people behind you.
Yeah.
We love you. We believe in you. It might not be in this setting, but it's going to be something.
Yeah.
And, yeah, that's awesome, man. And then when you brought up this podcast idea, I was like, Like, just perfect. Perfect. Because our dynamic, like,
Yeah. Well, I mean, God, I mean, how many hours have we had, talking about this,
yeah.
and we both get fired up when we start diving into
Yeah.
right, and leadership and values. So one thing I want to at least mark, and we don't have to touch on it today, but you talked a little bit about not wanting to let people down, right? And I think that you and I both probably have our own ways of doing it, but people in our team have done things because they don't want to let us down. And I think that could be a whole dang a podcast episode in and of itself of what makes that up, like why what is it about how we lead that makes people do things because they don't want to let us down, right? And what's crazy about that is, for both of us, I think we could agree that whatever that is that we do doesn't come from a place of manipulation or intent, right? It's however we lead. It's whatever's in that secret sauce that inspires people to be able to want to execute at a high level, because they don't want to let us down, because they don't want to let the team down, because of those things.
Yeah, and we could definitely. I mean, we have so many podcast topics that we can go, and I'll piggyback off of this a little bit before we get too deep. But genuine, be genuine. Do what you say you're going to do. Bring the effort and attitude every day. Every day, you got to bring the effort and attitude to lead your teams into effort and attitude, which creates process and execution, right? So that's the sauce, right? Really, that's part of the sauce. The sauce is many things. It's many ingredients, but the biggest one for me is being genuine. Are people going to see you as genuine or full of shit, right? And that's probably number one for me. Yeah.
And on all the hours that I've spent thinking on this, one thing for me in my leadership style, thinking clear back to, Cub Scouts when I was leading, Cub packs, it was caring about people. I care about my teams and the people on my team. If I bring somebody into my team, and they're accepted as a part of the team, I care about them at a level to where I would be willing to lay my job down for their success.
Right.
And no joke about it, right? And
zero. Yeah.
That creates trust, that creates so many layers, but that's absolutely where I operate from. And there we'll unpack it later, but layoffs, where my hand has been forced in having to do layoffs, absolutely the hardest days of my career, because I'm having to let go outside of my control of people that I love and care about, right? And layoffs, in my mind, layoff like that, even having to let somebody go who's not performing should never be easy. It should hurt your heart.
Well, it should feel like a relationship breakup.
Yeah.
Because you put time, effort, sweat, tears, love, coaching, training, developing, and inspiring into each person you interact with. And so even though it doesn't work out, it feels like a relational breakup. It is. You go through the 7 stages of grief. Like, you really, if you're a human, you truly are a servant leader who cares about people. You should have those emotions every time.
You should. Yeah. It should never be easy.
No.
If it's easy, then there's something you've got to look at inside of yourself.
Yeah, that you're not genuine. You're not genuine. And I think that brings me back to like Home Depot days. I don't know if that's copyrighted or not, but they were really big on leadership. And coming from the law enforcement world and military and construction world, where you're pretty rough, there's a hard line and you don't cross that line. You got to escalate. Yeah. And de-escalate. But then when you get to the retail world, there is different generations who handle things differently. And when I finally became a department supervisor and I took that department to #1 in the company, and I got to go to Atlanta and meet the CEO, and we talked about his Cadillac STS making millions. I'm like, really? You got a Cadillac, bro? That's all you got? Like, when I came home thinking I was going to get promoted, I was on a rocket ship to stardom, and I got ignored. And one of my pedestal people told me, I would never promote you. And it shocked me. Like, what? Like, we're #1. Like, dude, I'm making you look good. Like, what are you talking about?
Right.
But who have you gotten promoted? Who did you shout out when you became number one department supervisor in the company? Did you tell the CEO about your people?
Yeah.
That worked their butts off?
Right.
The freight people at night that work part-time begging for a full-time position, the part-time people in your day shift that keep your customers happy?
Yeah.
Or what about that one full-timer that's aspiring to be a department supervisor?
Yeah.
What have you done for them?
Yeah.
He walked away and I was changed my life like right then and there. I was like, wow, I can lead people. We can achieve metrics. I can drive a hard line, but who am I growing?
Right.
Who am I genuine with?
Right.
And that changed my life right then and there.
You know, and I mean, if there's something that somebody can get out of this podcast, especially a young aspiring leader, you know, what you're talking about right here, really, like, that comes with some maturity in leadership and some time in the saddle, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, as I look back on, you know, my leadership path, you know, I there was a time, and I can't put my finger on it, but there was a time when I started looking at the sum of the parts being greater than the whole. And that somewhere along the line that clicked with me, right? And looking at all the players on the team as being assets to each other to develop the whole, right? And then for me as a leader with that belief set, made it pretty easy to look at successes as success of the team, right? Success of the whole, as and not really having anything of me to do it. I was just the, you know, for lack of a better term, the puppet master, helping the right pieces be successful to be able to drive the team forward, right? And that allowed me to extract myself from the accolades, right? Because it was the team. It wasn't, you know, wasn't me, wasn't any one individual on the team that was making for success. It was those people within the team. And, you know, that was the, you know, I think, you know, both of us at some point, you know, in our careers after taking plenty of lumps in our head, had that revelation, right?
Yeah.
And you know, I remember, you know, in our old team, like looking around the table and, you know, seeing the pieces and you know, I had the conversation with my wife. I was like, yeah, if I could put all 5 of those guys together into one human, I'd have the perfect project manager. Right?
Well, superhuman. Well, and that's why, like, you know, I had a lot of leadership coming in to where we're at and when I met you. But what you do now and then is, it's not like, hey guys, we're going to have a team meeting and, you know, I'm going to run everything and y'all get along and do it. No, you called us. Hey, I want to collaborate. I want to do in-person training, and okay, we got feedback. But then you like secretly, I don't know how you do it, but you would like pit somebody with somebody else that needed something from each other.
Yeah.
Like me and Jamin.
Yeah.
Or Jamin and Will, or Wayne and I. Like, you know, and you would just push that way, not direct, there was nobody knew what you were doing, but you just knew to push it that way. And look at the men that we've become over those years, leaders. I mean, Jamin grew tremendously under you.
Yeah.
Wayne, myself, that was the genius of Don. I always say Don's a genius. If you could write an SOP, you better hire Don. And he is the best at really people on the bus, moving them around to make it the most effective, productive, and growth all at once. And that's pretty phenomenal.
Appreciate that. And there's, I don't know, I don't claim any genius. I don't know what it is. It's apparently I got a good gut. And I know it pisses you off when I say that, you know, and you're like, where the decisions come. Like, I just go with my gut feel. Like,
yeah. And I've learned that too, though. I do that now.
Trust your gut.
No, I always.
There's a lot to be said for trusting your gut.
Yeah. I do with my guys. Like, when I hear the conversation going one way, I trust what they're trying to say and my gut on it, and I'm able to foresee it now and wait till I can move the piece one way. Like, hey, you didn't think of it this way, or hey, let's try this. And you were really good, even when you were like mad at me, or not mad at me, but I was like in a rut and I didn't see it. You were like, hey man, you okay? What's going on? And you know, just poking and prodding and finally I'm like, dude, are you trying to get rid of me or something? Because go ahead, like, do what you got to do. And you're like, no, dude, like, this isn't you. And you know, what did I do that weekend? I sat all weekend, you know, making a list, and because I wanted to. I wanted to go. I thought you were bringing the hammer down that I was waiting for forever. Yeah. You know, the hammer that always happens. And
shoot a drop, right? Yeah.
You just directed me, you coached me, you trained me, and you kind of inspired me to like get back on track. That's huge, man. And that's why we're here. And that's why I want to write this book. Well,
and again, like that's going to be another story I'd love to unpack, right? Because it's the metaphoric and the real, because it actually happened, the getting in the ditch, right? And a leader recognizing when a team member is getting in the ditch, because that person, especially when we start talking about superintendents and project managers, you're running so hard that you don't know that you've got a tire off the edge of the road, right? And it's that leader that needs to be watching for that. But that leader needs to have the balls to say something too, right? Like, you know, because there comes a point, and I've seen it time and time again, where project managers have gotten so far in the ditch they can't get out. And Adam, you and I, we know the look on their face when they're in the ditch. Yeah. And they start, you know, fulfilling their own prophecies. They've got no time. They've got, you know, relationships in the gutter. And there's a point when somebody is too far in the ditch to get them out.
Yeah.
And that goes really hard against my ego. You and I both think that we can save anybody, right? And but we've both seen that there is a point when somebody is too far in the ditch to get them out. They're burned up too much to get them back out. You know, and so that's our job as leaders, to see when somebody is getting off the edge of that road and bump them back on, right? And it might piss them off, but that's our job, is to bump them back on the road, even when they know they're not getting in the ditch.
Yeah, and if you're genuine about bumping them back on the road and pissing them off, they're not going to be pissed off and run to like human resources or whatever. They're going to go, no, I got this, and I'm going to prove it to you. They don't want to let you down, and that's because of all the time, effort, coaching, training, developing, and inspiring you put into them. And that's so key to people being successful. Not just project managers. You see it in business owners. You see it in
any role.
Coaches on a team. Like, they start losing control of the team, and they're in a ditch, and they're too prideful to raise their hand. Say, okay, I had enough. I don't know how many times you asked me if I had enough, you know, like, have you had enough with them yet? Nah, not yet. We're going to keep going. You know, that's the fun part of it, though, too, being a leader, is seeing it, directing it, correcting it, watching them come out of it, and they're better, stronger, and more confident. That it is the best feeling in the world. It's the best feeling in the world,
I think that we could both admit, and you and I have had this conversation a lot, especially, you know, there's definitely times when you were in the learning curve of the home construction process, right?
Yeah.
And I'd walk in and I'd see something, and you know, you'd be like, Jesus, how did you know that? Where'd that sixth sense come from, right?
Yeah.
And you know, honestly, the sixth sense, and I told you, I don't know how many times, but it came from fucking it up, right? Like, that's where the sixth sense comes from, is from having done it, screwed it up, figured out how to get out of it, figured out how to fix it, or you know, you take the hard way through it. And you know, in growing leaders and growing a team, you got to let people fuck it up like that. They've got to learn those lessons. If you solve everything for them, they're never going to gain that sixth sense. And you know, it was not too long ago we were having a conversation about you leading a team and growing people, and you were like, dude, I get it. I walk into their houses and I see things, right?
There's a vibe.
You even know it. The vibe, right? We talk a lot about the vibe.
Yeah.
And that comes from much as I hate sink or swim, where you're thrown in, you've got to figure it out. There's a lot I learned from it, right? And I think that's the challenge for leaders, and I think that's something that you and I have both navigated, because we both have that core hate of sink or swim. Somehow, you know, we've navigated that path of growing people, teaching them, setting expectations, guiding them along the path, allowing them to make mistakes, but not throwing them into a sink or swim situation.
Yeah, well, I mean, sink or swim to a degree. Like, yeah, we're gonna you especially, and I think another leader that I'm currently with, you know, hey, don't just come at me with a problem. What is your solution? And then I'm going to direct that solution if it's not quite right?
Yeah.
but not give it to them, but guide them. And I think, when, when you walked in the houses and, it was almost like my dad was inspecting my room if it was clean enough, like, don't look under the bed, don't look under the bed, don't look under the bed. And you looked under the bed and you're like, shit. And, but, it was always funny because we could laugh about it. And I never felt threatened or like an idiot or bad at my job. You always made me feel like, hey, if it doesn't feel right, trust it. Yeah. And I really learned how to feel a vibe. When I walk in my guys' houses, I know right away, not by the look per se, there's a feeling.
Yeah. Yeah, there is, right?
There is this like empath, like darkness or lightness over the house. The minute you walk up to it, you're like, oh, this is going bad. And then you walk in and the guys are like, no music's playing.
Yeah.
They're not even saying hi to you.
Yep.
They're throwing stuff all over the place. And you're like, uh-oh. And then, or you walk in and the music's playing, they're running around joking, things are sprayed out on the floor properly, the site's cleaned up, they're cleaning their mess up. There's just a vibe. Yeah. And once you get that dark vibe, that uh-oh vibe, that's when you start deep diving. And what's cool, too, about you is, like, I'm more of an empath. I people read. I read your facial expressions, the way you talk, the way you hold yourself. Like, you kept me alive when I was young. You are very methodical in SOP. I mean, you even wrote checklists, like, they're still used to this day, right? Like, but you also have the empath side. So you have, like, both. Where I'm ex-military cop, so checklists are great. But I didn't write the checklist.
Okay.
I followed the checklist, right? You were the checklist writer.
Yeah.
And, I was best of both worlds, where I got somebody that wrote the checklist, showed me how to properly go through them, but also have the emotional awareness that, hey, this guy's a little stressed and frustrated. Maybe I shouldn't push his buttons too hard. And help me through it. Yeah. And that's a leader. That's a servant leader. That's what it is.
Well, and I think we'll unpack this thoroughly.
Yeah.
But the empathy, reading people, getting out of your own headspace to where you can read and trust those gut feelings that you've got coming from somebody is important.
Well, I think we also need to unpack another topic, is the flip side. When do you got to flip the switch? Yeah. And be assertive.
Yeah.
And hold standards and hold expectations.
Yeah.
That has to happen from time to time.
It does.
And that's like kind of scolding your child where, hey, child, this hurts me more than it hurts you, but it has to be done. Yeah. And I want to unpack all of that because there is a need for that too. Yeah. Yeah. And it's, I mean, that's a great topic to hit on because, there was somebody very early in my career, a year after college in home building, that told me point blank, you're never going to be successful because you don't yell at people. And I mean, that was direct quote, right? Yeah. And this was in a world where it was the quote unquote old school project manager superintendents, right? Yeah. And everybody was getting yelled at all the time for everything. And if you weren't yelling and screaming, you weren't moving the needle. But, in my mind, if you're yelling and screaming all the time, like when you're really pissed, how do you show it, right? Like what's the next step when you're already running at a 10 year? Yeah. And, I think that, you and I, our emotional levels are different, right? Like our static emotional levels, but I've got to move from a 5 to a 15, and people who know me are like, oh shit, right? And if I go from a 15 to an 85, then shit's getting real exciting, right? And that's always been my mode of operation. But I think there's a lot to be said, especially in construction, where there's the stereotype that the leader needs to yell and scream at everybody, and that's absolutely not the case. Like and I'd like to prove that out in the course of this book writing podcast. Is that leaders don't have to yell and scream. Like that's stereotype, especially in construction. You don't have to. Leading, even leading subcontractors, right? Leading with care and compassion, trying to make the best job possible for those guys, laying it on the line to run as best as schedules and have clean job sites and do everything you can to be a clean
a clean, good contract for those subcontractors, that's absolutely the path to success over yelling and screaming and jumping up and down and having 50 million phone conversations and all the crap that goes along with the stereotype.
Yeah, and you can take that yelling and screaming even in your own home. Like, you know, my mom, the way she got pointed across was yelling, you know, and, you know, coming from the military, you yelled at, screamed at, right? In your face. Same thing with law enforcement, same thing with construction on the commercial side or even residential side. But what's really cool is that there is a shift, and somebody gave me a really cool book one time, and it was Extreme Ownership and Obstacles the Way.
Yeah.
Mr. Healy, right?
Yeah.
And I learned, talk about books that change your leadership. I mean, there's a million of them out there, right? But there's ones that resonate with you. And I could go from happy, positive, go lucky to very assertive very quickly and like 180 person, right? Yeah. But that's not always the right way. So what I learned from like Extreme Ownership was, how do you take the ball out of their hands? So you want to yell and you want to scream, but they're going to use it against you. They're not listening to you.
Right.
So how do you get the ball out of their hands? Well, you own it first.
Yeah. Yes.
I could have done this better.
Yeah.
I failed you on this. And guess what? Their ammo is gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now the ball's in their court.
Yeah.
And they got to take the shot.
Yeah.
Now, are you going to own your piece?
Right.
Or are you going to be a coward and run?
Right.
And that's something to this day I practice every day. Is taking ownership first and then see what happens. And good stuff, man. I mean, there's so many things that
the ownership thing, you know, unfortunately for me, I read that book and it really resonated with me because it went with my core, right? My core leadership style. But, you know, now that's been kind of underlined for me. It really pisses me off when somebody doesn't take ownership. Like, if there's one way to get me fired up in a situation, if somebody's dancing around something and they just need to freaking take ownership, it's me all fired up, right? And you know, that's a unique situation to handle in and of itself. But golly, I mean, you just think about everything in society. I mean, everything in society, all the way through politics and everything. If people would just take some ownership, it changes everything. But then
even
you know,
your messed up McDonald's order,
right?
They won't take ownership of it. It's like crazy. Like my teenagers right now, Jensen's not there yet, but they don't own nothing. They got an excuse for everything, right? And to this day, I quote lines from that books to them. I'll text it to them.
Yeah,
I own it. Just own it. It's so much easier.
I mean, I remember my dad telling me that, you know, if you screw something up, if you admit to it, if you tell me that you screwed that up, the consequences are going to be way less than if you try to duck and dodge around it, right? And you know, that's somehow people miss that, I guess, in childhood, and you know that, and it you know, it ends up being our job as leaders to teach that. And like, as I'm saying that, it's so weird because I've had to teach this concept so many times. It's like, where are the parents in teaching that, right? You know?
Yeah, and to this day, like I said, like even my older kids, they're in their 20s now, and they'll come to me with a problem. I'm like, did you own it?
Yeah.
You know, my son, he's a foreman. He's 24. He runs a construction crew. He's so young. He's like, Dad, they won't listen to me. They're older guys, you know. I'm like, but do you take ownership with them? Do you own it that they know more than you?
Yeah.
Do you own it that you don't?
Right.
Do you ask them to be your mentor?
Yeah.
Do you break down those walls so you can get them to do what you want them to do?
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, a whole another topic again. Like,
oh yeah. We'll go through my story of Dan the Dirt Man, the excavator. We won't hit it in this episode, but down the road, that'll be a good one of, you know, being a engineer fresh out of college. You know, didn't know squat about dirt and excavation, and some of my, you know, transformational learnings with that crusty crotchety old excavator. I hope Dan's still around. I wonder where he's at.
Yeah, you know, it'd be cool to get him on. I really would like to hear your story. what made Don, so maybe in the next one, I want to hear where Don come from,
Yeah.
what made Don Don, what influences, parents,
Yeah.
being a single only child, and I want to know your journey to here.
Yeah.
I think it's very fascinating, and our journeys are so different, but we've come to the same point.
Right.
And nobody thinks that's possible. There's a lot of people out there that you are your product of your environment, which is not true. And I think we should start from the beginning of your journey, your misses, your failures, your successes, your successors, your champions. And I think it'll be really interesting.
Yeah. Let's, I think that probably do an episode of my journey, episode of your journey. And then sprinkle some more of our experiences together. We've got some good freaking war stories. For whoever may be listening to this, I mean, golly, we've shed tears, we've shed blood, we've been
sleepless nights.
And we're not talking about war, we're talking about construction, but
blowing up canisters almost and making a decision. Do we save the house or let it go?
Right.
I'm excited for this. I really want to hear your story. I think the book that I want to write with you, we want to write together, really should stem from our beginnings.
Yeah.
Telling the story of who we are and where we came from, so we can show that relationship of how it could come together and form beautiful working relationships and friendships and working strengths.
Yeah.
My strengths are different than your strengths.
Yeah, absolutely.
But they're equally important, and if we work together, then we're unstoppable. So
yeah.
Exciting.
Well, Adam, I think we both can agree that, a sole focus for this project, this podcast, this book is if we can have the positive influence, if our voices and the things that we talk about can have the positive influence on one person's life, then what we're doing here is a success.
If we can be a butterfly effect for one human, to change another human, to help another human. Yeah. I could pass on from this earth to the next very happy.
Yeah. Well, we've got a tool here that we're creating, and it's gonna get at least our voices and our thoughts in front of hopefully a couple of people. I bet we can get one person to listen.
I bet we can get several. If we publish it, what are you going to publish it? I think you need to publish this. This is raw. This is great. This is the beginning.
Yeah.
I say you publish it, and then, I mean, I know a million people who would probably watch it. Not a million, but butterfly effect. For sure. Yeah.
Right. At least a few.
There's a lot of good leaders out there that believe in me to this day that were my mentors. They would love to see something like this and maybe watch it. And I say you publish it and we run with it and see what happens.
Yeah. No, I'm excited. We're going to do these once a week. Mm-hmm. And like we've talked about, we're going to use some technology. I'm fumbling my way through learning, and and for those listening along to this, we're going to take the transcript from this session. We're going to plug it into Claude or ChatGPT, come up with kind of a list of topics that we've talked about. That's going to start formulating the foundation of the chapters of the book. We're going to structure our weekly sessions around those topics. We're going to start off with a topic. I'm sure they're going to, just like every one of our conversations, they're going to wind around and do all kinds of goofy crap with stupid stories and stuff. But it's
part of the fun.
Yeah. It's going to be part of the fun. Yeah. And then we're going to take all the transcripts. We're going to bank them. We're going to figure out how to process them in some sort of logical way and format them into a book or a series of books or podcasts or
both.
Blog posts, whatever else, however we can get them. But we're aligned in that we just need to help one person. We need to help one person, whether it's a aspiring leader, whether it's a struggling leader, whether it's an experienced leader that's at the top that doesn't want to admit that their faults, their faults. If it influences the thought in somebody who's laying there in bed wondering why something isn't working for them, and we're able to influence that one person. Then we can call this whole thing a success.
Especially the person that has fear that they're going to be exposed by their people, that's insecurity, that can be changed.
Yeah.
That can be changed really quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. I'm going to kill this one right here. We can, let's chat on the other side. I'm going to end it right there.